Hey, welcome back to another episode of Sly Cooper. We're gonna get started with the Panda King's little fortress here. I was thinking in between videos about how annoyed I was with Ms. Ruby's like swamp, and how much more of a pain in the butt that whole thing would have been if I hadn't already had the water safety. So I'm glad I had, gotten that before I went there, or else I would have been really annoyed. Another thing I was remembering, if I remember correctly, there's at least one Thievius Raccoonus page. At least one Thievius Raccoonus page that requires me to have the ability that I get from the Panda King. So if I remember correctly, you have to basically get everything but either the last one or the vault on one of these levels, and then you have to get what you get from Panda King. So you have to finish beating him and then come back into the stage and get it. But we'll face that once we get to that point. If I remember correctly, it's one of the more final levels of the area. But it's like one that you have to do. I can't remember exactly what it is you have to do, but it has something to do with like getting over some kind of big old gap or something like that. And I want that lucky charm. But yeah, like I was saying, I remember that. Either that, or I just met like very much so big time like missed it when I first played the game, and or last time I played the game, whichever one. But I seem to remember it being something along those lines. I can't even get up there if I don't jump. And I don't know if I can fight that. Is it a monkey? Like, I didn't know if I could even do that if I didn't come down, like, or go through there being visible. Just trying to keep an eye out for the bottles. If you think about it, it's kind of crazy that, like, he can't just turn invisible and not be seen by the... Can't just turn invisible and not be seen by the spotlights and stuff. Do I have to fight these guys? Kind of reminds me of that scene in Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, when it's like the test of the village is you have to stand on one foot on top of like a giant pillar for like a couple days. I guess it's supposed to be all about balance. So why can I sneak along here? What would be the point to... Oh, I guess to get up there? I'm not missing anything over there, am I? No? Okay. Kinda glad that they didn't decide to jump down and attack me, because like, oh, they probably would have all won if they ganged up on me. Simply because, there'd be so many of them, and Sly isn't really that combat heavy in this game. He's a little bit better in like part 2 and 3, but like he's not the combat person. Oh, see, there's so many places to go. That's probably just to come out here to get those bottles. So it doesn't look like there's anywhere else to go, which is good because the fewer ways to go, the better. Which, you know, doesn't apply for every single game, obviously, but in this context, like, yeah, the fewer ways to go, the better. I think that's to go forward. I think I've mentioned it before, but I feel like the older I get, the more I enjoy linearity in games, just simply because, like, I like open world games and all. I like open world games and all, but the thing is that when I play open world games, I always end up getting sidetracked on doing everything but the main story. Usually because I feel like a lot of the times there's more focus on making it an open world game and doing a bunch of side quests that the story is not really that interesting, if I'm being honest. So that, like, because of that, like, I don't really care about the story so much, and because I don't really care about the story, like, I end up doing everything but the story. And then by the time, like, I've done a bunch of side quests and everything, like, by the time I do a bunch of side quests and stuff, I end up being just, like, so done with the game because I've already put, like, 60 to 70 hours into it. But, I mean, that's just me. I know a lot of people enjoy... See, oh, you can just jump over here? Okay. I know a lot of people do end up enjoying stuff like that, and that's great. Like, I'm not, once again, not trying to disparage anybody who enjoys something different than I enjoy, but, like, for me, it's just kind of like, I'd rather have a nice linear experience with a really good story and fun gameplay than, like, a really weak story with, like, 1,000,001 side quests where there's only really technically 10 different side quests, and you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And, you know, it's basically like, oh, you go into a new area and here's, like, like I said, 5 to 10 side quests that you can do in the area. And if you do, okay, let's see. I don't think I have all of the bottles, do I? I'm missing 4. But do I already have it where I can just look, or is that, like, no? I guess I haven't unlocked that yet. Anyway, so like I was saying, you know, you end up having, like, the same handful of side quests to do over and over and over again, and it ends up being like, you know, it's kind of like this game. Like, I am really enjoying replaying this game, but, like, to be honest, you know, go here, go get this key, try to find all the bottles so you can get a page of the Thievius Raccoonus. Like, it's definitely, I think I said it in one of the earlier episodes, like, I'm enjoying it. I still think it's a really good game, but I'm seeing how rough around the edges it really is compared to, like, later entries. And I mean, it was the first go, so it's like, because it's the first game, you kind of, like, or at least I kind of want to give it, like, more of a benefit of the doubt of, like, you know, they did, you know, I don't want to say they necessarily did their best, but at the same time, it's like they still knocked it out of the park for their first go around. It's not like they... Can I get back over there? Like, it's not like they, you know, phoned it in or whatever and just like put whatever they want, like put whatever they put out. Yeah, I might have to like come back. That's disappointing. Is there a way to get down there? No. Okay, well, at least I know. I have to come back. C2 there. But I need 4, so that only accounts for a couple. But I'll just have to run back through the level real quick. It's not a big deal. That's kind of the nice thing about the levels being super short. Is like them being as short as they are, like if you miss the bottles and you don't get the page of the Thievius Raccoonus, you can just like 5 seconds run back through it. That's probably why they have like the dreaded time trials. Like, I do not like time trial stuff in games. I just don't like doing stuff with time limits if I can help it. I'm a 90s kid, and you know, that means that like time limits were like incredibly tight. So we're gonna have to run back through real quick. Yeah, so time limits were like, we're gonna give you like 2 minutes to do something that you kind of need like 3 minutes to do, so you have to like really stress out about doing it. But yeah, it's like I was saying, you know, I like to I want to give this game a little more leadway than I would if it was like the 3rd or 4th entry, just simply because, you know, it was the first go. It's like the first Resident Evil. It's my favorite Resident Evil game. Although I will admit that later entries did some things better and some things worse. Okay, so there's bottles on top of this spot. This is the spot that I saw a second ago. But, almost jumped down there. Yeah, so like, you know, there's some things that it did better, some things that it did worse, like, you know, but I still like the original Resident Evil the most. Ooh, what's this? Has a lot to do with, like, for me, Resident Evil 1, as a game, is so much of like a standalone, like it's a very much so like a standalone thing that, like, if none of the other Resident Evils came after it, whoa, that was weird. If none of the other Resident Evils came after it, like, it would still be like a really good game on its own. As well as, like, it has this, like, has this vibe where, at least to me, it has this vibe where it's like, it almost exists in its own little parallel universe. And anything that's happening outside of the game doesn't exist or doesn't matter. Like, they reference Raccoon City, but it's like, you know, Raccoon City doesn't actually exist in the game, you know what I mean? So it's like, they just kind of talk about it, but it's like it doesn't really matter. It's more of like flavor text. Oh, no, not yet. Almost made a mistake. Almost got wrapped up into talking about the first Resident Evil, which I actually think it's one of my favorite games, to be honest. Not just my favorite Resident Evil game. Not just my favorite Resident Evil game, but like also one of my favorite games, period. It is a little rough around the edges, but there's something about it that's just like perfect. I didn't grow up playing it either. My first Resident Evil experience was Resident Evil 4. And I think it was like 2005 or 6. So it had already been out for a few years. That was my first Resident Evil that I ever played, was 4, and I played that game to like death and back. And still has like a special place in my heart, you know, but like I just really like the first game. I think something that doesn't really get talked about when it comes to the original Resident Evil is that, yeah, it's a horror survivor game, but it's also like a murder mystery game. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, if you think about it, because there are no Resident... If you take yourself back to when that game came out, and no other Resident Evil existed, you knew nothing about Umbrella, you knew nothing about any of that, like, and you're discovering the stuff, and finding out about the story alongside the characters, then it's like almost like a whodunit, you know, what caused this to happen. And so it really does come off to being like, a murder mystery. At least for me it does.
Press the circle to enter.
Press the circle.
Lucky for you, I burst in chaos theory. Otherwise, this code would have been unsolvable. Input 932.
Well, I don't know why that one was already on 1. But yeah, like, like I really like the other entries.
Incredible! I never would have thought this was possible.
Spikes
Sir Augustine
suck.
of Cooper's technique to briefly defy gravity. From now on, you should be able to pop right out of those bottomless pits you keep falling into, and you won't even lose a lucky charm.
Okay, so basically it's water safety, but like, you know, with bottomless pits. I mean, I don't feel like I was having as much problems with bottomless pits as I was like water, so it's appreciated, but it's not that big of a deal. So there's one over there, there's one over here. We'll try and do one more before the end of this video. So, yeah, I really like Resident Evil 2. I honestly think that the story of Resident Evil 2 is a little bit better than 1. And then, of course, 3, which wasn't really supposed to be 3, but is 3. And then Code Veronica. And like I said, a lot of them, they definitely have some aspects that are better.
This looks like a good place to try out your new invisibility move. Hold down the circle button to drop out of sight.
There definitely are,
While
like,
invisible, nothing can see you. Not lasers, not searchlights, not guards. Oh, and if the guards already see you, then the invisibility trick won't work on them.
so like, there are definitely like better games. I mean, and you know, the remake of Resident Evil 1 is like Resident Evil 1 but on steroids, and it's really, really, really good. But there's something to me about the original that just, like, even though I didn't, like I said, I didn't grow up with it, it just had, like, I have a real big soft spot for it. So I do have like a big soft spot for the original. But I think I'll stop talking about Resident Evil because, like, I just have it on the brain at the moment. But, like, just stop talking about it for the time being, because like, you know, I don't know how interested you as the listener are in the original Resident Evil. I didn't see any bottles that way. I do need to get down there though. Looks like I gotta go around. Yeah, I just kind of have it on the brain at the moment. I don't know why. But I just do. Maybe it's almost time to do a playthrough of it. We'll see. I don't really have any immediate plans to do one, but we'll see if like gotcha. I'm going to shift gears from Resident Evil and talk about Silent Hill. I really like Silent Hill as well. I always felt like it was a little unfair that people compared Silent Hill to Resident Evil. Only because it was like, oh, they're both horror games and like, you know, they have puzzles, but like the puzzles are way different. The puzzles in Silent Hill were always like more like puzzles and riddles and stuff. But the puzzles and stuff in Resident Evil are more like, get this item, go to this place, do this thing. Now in later entries, like, they do become more like puzzles. And of course, you know, in the original, the from the cradle to the grave, from the cradle to the grave puzzle, no, Sly, you bastard. Anyway, from the cradle to the grave puzzle, where you have to like do the pictures in the right order, that one was like more of a puzzle. But a lot of the original Resident Evil's puzzles are literally just go get this item and use this one item at the right spot, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of the way it is in most of the other games also. But and some of the Silent Hill puzzles are like that, but for the most part they are like, you know, they actually give you a riddle, and the riddle... Okay, so I can get back over here. Okay, so they do give you a riddle, and then it's like that riddle, you have to do something in a specific, like insert something in a specific sequence or something like that. Clearly this is going to be a get across the... Whoa, that bottle almost made me trip a wire. Clearly that's going to be get over here and knock this thing first. But I always liked how, to me, like, the thing that made Resident Evil scary was like, you know, being in a position where it's like, oh, like, if I make the wrong move, like, I'm going to have to, like, I'm going to get killed and have to do a lot of progress over because of, like, limited saves because of the Incribbin situation. But with, oh, I thought I was going to be able to spire jump onto that. Come on, man. There we go. But in, like, Silent Hill, like, it was legitimately, like, atmospherically scary.
This vault's combination has got to be 667.
667? Oh, no. So, it was always, like, very close, you know, or, like, because of atmosphere and everything, it was like very
You
much
found the
more
blueprints
scary.
for the Panda King's lair.
Cool.
I'll upload the data straight into your binocucom.
Thanks, bro. So, like I was saying, you know, to me it was always like scarier. So I think I talked about it in
Why, this pagoda is some kind of huge gunpowder production plant. Judging by the
I think I was
scale,
talking
the
about it in
Panda
Mario
King must be
64,
making tons of explosives.
but like I got Silent Hill 2 remake, and like, so the furthest I've gotten is the Brookhaven Hospital, and this is months ago, and like I just have no desire to pick up the game and play it again. Just simply because, like, I don't know, there's something about it to me that's just like, I'd rather play the original. But I'm going to call the episode here. Appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening to me ramble on about Resident Evil mostly, but also Silent Hill. If you made it to this point of the video, I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.